Welcome,
Okay,
Russell.
so there's two possibilities. Either God manifests in reality or it doesn't. Now, if it doesn't manifest in reality, my contention is that this God is indistinguishable from a God that doesn't exist, because we only are able to actually examine things that manifest in reality. So, you can think that there's a God out there that doesn't manifest in reality, and you have no rational justification for it. And what you believe in is indistinguishable to you and every other thinking being on this planet from the God that doesn't exist. Therefore, it's a big old fat time waster, and I will not waste time discussing it. Which means in order for us to have a discussion, you better be talking about a God that manifests in reality. And that by definition, if it manifests in reality, then this is at least theoretically detectable, in which case you should be able to produce evidence. Yes, physical evidence, real evidence. And by the way, every single one of you sitting out there who is a Christian, that's the God you believe in. If you're a Muslim, that's the God that you believe in. If you're a Hindu, well, maybe one or two of them are. Go down the list. Everybody who has posited the existence of a God and formed a religion, with a couple of minor exceptions of philosophical deism and some kind of different versions of Buddhism, but by and large, when we're talking about the world's major religions, especially the Abrahamic traditions, right down to Mormons, they're positing the existence of a God who manifests in reality, and they sing songs about it, how often he manifests in reality, and they make claims all the time about how he manifests in reality.
They claim he answers prayers.
Answers prayer, heals people, finds your car keys, whatever. If that's the God you're talking about,
won me this Grammy.
Please come and talk, because that's the only God that matters. If you want to call in and talk about, well, my God is logically possible, I don't care. All you're saying is that it's not impossible that there's a being out there somewhere that might qualify for the criteria that I'm putting on the God thing. I care what's actually true, what's demonstrably true. So if the only conversation worth having is about a God that manifests in reality, if it manifests in reality, it's at least theoretically detectable. And by the way, all of you who believe in it, who claim to have had these experiences, are claiming to be God detectors. How hard is that to get through your skull? Ooh, I felt the Holy Spirit coming through me, and I know that God healed my aunt of cancer. Well, congratulations. You've made a testable claim.
Have an Oreo, my son.
Thank you.
You've
made a testable claim,
and another thing,
that's worth talking about.
There's not a single Christian who got up this morning, put on nice clothes, and went to sit in church who believes in a God that is just a possibility or an idea. Every single church-going Christian in this country, and I would say around the world, believes in a God who does real stuff.
Yep.
And who is going to do a real thing. When they really die, they think they've got a real soul inside that's going to get plucked out like a pomegranate seed and shipped off to some wonderful place called heaven, where I guess it's free cable and pizza and yeah. And they think these are real things that are going to happen. When this lunatic Harold Camping was doing his old, it's all going to end recently, he got the people who sent him money and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then the world didn't end that day. They were really, genuinely bewildered that didn't happen. They thought an actual physical event was going to occur. The end of the world, the rapture, them going up and waving goodbye to all his sinners. We're talking real things. That's what Christians actually believe. So theoretical gods, logical gods, possible gods.
I love philosophy. I'm just chilling back with an Oreo.
I like Oreos.
Nothing gay about that.
No.
I like philosophy. I like having philosophical discussions. We've had debates about free will.
That Oreo's totally 69ing. Look.
Well, just because you stuck your nose into their bedroom, close that back up. You don't care. You shouldn't be allowed to peek into other people's bedrooms unless they ask you to. But I love philosophical discussions. I have a passion for the transcendental argument for the existence of God. That's going on YouTube.
Gotcha.
And I love discussions about identity. I think it's incredibly important how we go about determining who we are and what sort of definitions we're going to put on identity. We're going to have big issues in the future that deal with identity, that deal with, maybe not necessarily whether or not we have free will, but how we deal in a world where we most probably don't have free will, or it's an illusion. We're going to have issues related to identity. We're already having all sorts of issues related to other smaller subsets of identity. For years, the intersex individuals have been either had their sex determined by a doctor or raised under one enculturated gender identity. There are people now who fit into every possible category, and some categories we couldn't even have dreamed possible. Mm-hmm. And these are all people, and we're going to have to deal with the interactions there. I love we have big problems coming down the pipe, and religion is standing in the way because it has these archaic black and white, which are mostly wrong, ideas about identity and interaction.
In-group, out-group thinking.
I'll have debates on tag, and I love the philosophical stuff. But not a one of you became a Christian because of the transcendental argument for the existence of God. I'm sure somebody will write me or call in and say, "You're wrong, sir. I was an atheist, and it's the transcendental argument for the existence of God that convinced me to be a Christian."
Now you're going to get
liar!
100 trolls.
You are a liar. Yeah. You are absolutely a liar, because first of all, transcendental argument for the existence of God can't get to Christianity.
There's 50 people in the chat room right now who are composing that email just to piss you off.
I don't care. I can delete emails. My point is this. You believe in something, and you've got some reasons for it. So just call in and say what those reasons are. Why don't people often do that? I mean, granted, we had pretty honest people here today that eventually fell back to the, it's faith.
Well, yeah. but that's them being honest.
I know. Yeah. I'm happy.
That's the moment of honesty when, after all the scientific pretense that they begin their calls with.
Yeah. When your blanket of illusory reasons is pulled away, when the last little thread of that is gone, and you say, "Oh, it's faith," well, you've admitted defeat. You've admitted that you don't have a reasoned position, that you cannot defend it. And so don't you dare, after getting to faith, come back with tag or Plantinga's modologic ontological argument or any of those other philosophical obfuscations that don't prove what you think they prove, are fallacious and aren't the reason that you believe. At least be honest about what you believe, and we'll have an honest discussion in return. And if you get to faith and say that, hey, that's okay with you, I'll say it's not okay with me, and then we can go on our merry way. I think the big fear is that when other people see you in a conversation where all of your arguments fall by the wayside and you're left with faith, that's why I want to have this conversation. Because those people are now in a position where they get to recognize, do I want to be? Do I want my positions to be based on reason and evidence? Am I okay with faith? Why should I be okay with faith? If faith can simultaneously justify my belief that Jesus turns into a cracker, or that Jesus walked on water, or my faith that I'll get virgins in heaven when I die if I'm a martyr, or any number of things. You can justify anything with faith. So, what good is it? And isn't it actually bad? Don't you care about an actual pathway to truth? I know you do, because you keep calling in to give reasoned arguments. And then when they fail, you go back to faith. Just give it up.